Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin of the Investor Connect. Today we're here with Gil Hernandez of GXH Capital. Gil, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for this.
Great. So what was your background before investing in early stage companies? What did you do before this?
So prior to this, I worked at Apple in Cupertino, focusing in our software and services team as an experienced financial analyst. So covering forecasting, budgeting, planning, just kind of ad hoc requests regarding the finances for our software group. I also prepared our quarterly earnings package that Tim Cook and Luca, the CFO, read out loud for our quarterly earnings call. And the groups I supported, like I said, was software services. So this includes iTunes, Siri, iCloud Maps, pretty much all the different apps that are on the phone that's not the actual hardware. So I did that for about 3 years and just covering all different aspects of finance related to Apple's software group, launching different products such as Apple TV Plus, existing products like iTunes, Apple Music, all over. It's pretty diverse considering how wide our software base is, because one day you could be working on Maps, then the next day you're working on Wallet. It's very different every day. Before that, I worked at PwC as an experienced associate, focusing on technology companies, both startups and larger corporations, helping them prepare their quarterly 10Qs and 10Ks. And prior to that, I went to Boston University, where I got a dual concentration in finance and accounting.
Well, that's great. So what excites you right now?
So I think the most exciting part of venture capital right now and just startup space in general is diversity. Diversity has always been a major part of my life. I grew up in the Bronx, New York, but had a scholarship to a predominantly white private school in Manhattan. And I saw firsthand how important it is to have diversity and just have people of different experiences brought together, because this can really help change the world and just people's worldview. I believe the tides are changing in the investment world, and the investors and portfolio companies are starting to reflect the actual world and the population out there, and that those who aren't reflecting that and are kind of staying not too diverse are going to fall behind quickly. Because now that we're all so connected with different social media and the internet, it's really changing everything. And there are just so many amazing ideas out there. And you shouldn't just be relying kind of on your first degree connections, as they would say, for different startups. You should really look beyond what you've been doing and see that there is a whole world of diversity out there. And there are so many ideas beyond just Silicon Valley.
Great. So what's your advice for people investing in startups? What do you tell that investor to do before they write that first check?
So I think the key thing, again, with diversity is just open your eyes to what's around you and just seeing beyond your immediate circle. Because if you're only investing in those warm introductions or those first degree connections or those people that went to the same college as you, you really are going to miss out on some major opportunities. So I'd say just opening your worldview and just being open to cold emails, cold calls, taking calls with different people, and just really getting to know the founder on a different level and not just meeting those that you know or that you've worked with before, and just really putting yourself out there as the investor also.
Great. So, and for startups that are just launching, what's your advice for those people?
So similar to what I would say for the investor, on the flip side is don't be afraid. If you're the startup, if you're the founder, don't be afraid of the cold call or the cold email and putting yourself out there. If you're a diverse founder and you don't have many connections that you see some of your colleagues have, then you really are going to have to grind and put yourself out there and reach out to a lot of different people. and just cast a really wide net and just be sure not to limit yourself and not to be afraid. Because the worst thing that can happen when you send a cold email is they say no or they don't respond. But if you don't put yourself out there, then you're never going to know, and you're just limiting yourself. So I'd say my advice is just get out there, spread the word, reach out to anyone. Don't be afraid to reach out to people who you think might not respond, but just put yourself out there because you never know. In my last week at Apple, I was considering my options and what I was going to do launching this GXH Capital. And I decided, hey, everybody here is a person. Nobody's really better than anyone. So I said, why not? Let me email Tim Cook. So I shot out an email because I looked him up in our work directory, shot an email to him, and he replied, and it was amazing. And it really would have just limited myself had I not put myself out there and reached out to him. So you'll be surprised the feedback you get back and just who actually does respond. Because I never thought that the CEO of the world's biggest company would be responding to me and telling me like, oh, hey, that's a good idea. I'd love to talk more about it. And you would never know that if you don't just put yourself out there.
That's great. So let's talk about the state of investing in startups. How do you see the industry evolving? What changes do you see out there?
So what I'm seeing mainly is that there are just so many tools out there right now for the individual to start their own business and create their own startup. That's no longer limited to just those who are elite or with Ivy League education or connections. Now anybody can start a startup. And because of this is greatly expanding the founder pool and making the founder pool large and very diverse. And that's why I think investors need to grow with the times and also evolve in their outreach. Because if you're only relying on what worked before, it's great that worked before. It might keep working, but there are just so many out there now and growing that you really have to keep your eye out there and be on the cutting edge of technology in your outreach and reaching out to those who you might not have reached out to before, because they can bootstrap themselves with this different media and just different tools that are out there now that they might not have been able to before. But now this pool is just so big with those different resources.
Well, great. So what's your investment thesis for GXH? What exactly do you guys invest in and what's your criteria?
Yeah, so our focus is on startups with founders who are underrepresented, such as people of color, women, those who identify as LGBT. And we look for early stage companies who are raising pre-seed or seed funding and work with them to provide this and help them be able to reach their Series A or Series B, where at this point we would like to help them connect with the bigger mega funds, the larger funds who can invest huge sums into them that can take them to the next level. Our goal is to really help them in the beginning stages and establish a bit of a track record and show what they can do and what they are capable of, and then take them to the huge mega funds. And we're really industry agnostic. It's really a focus on the founders and the diversity, and that they're committed to making the world kind of more representative of what the actual population looks like.
Well, great. So for those startups that are out there, what's the biggest challenge you think startups today face in getting their company up and off the ground?
So the biggest challenge that I'm seeing for the ones that I work with is access to capital. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to create this, is because I see there are so many founders with great ideas, but they're lacking the capital to really take it to the next level. A lot of these startups I meet with, they have been bootstrapping, they haven't raised any money at all, and they'll have decent numbers and they're profitable and they're making money, but they just don't know, they don't have the resources where they know how to really raise a fund or where to go to talk to people about raising funds, because they might be the first generation business person in their family and their family doesn't have those connections. So that's why I think it's really important to get out there and provide capital to these people, because they really know what they are doing and can take it to the next level with less money, Whereas there are countless examples out there that we've all heard of, these people raising billions of dollars just because they're well connected and have a flashy, fun slide deck. But I'm more focused on those who really have a great product, know what they're doing, but they just need some capital to really take it to that next step to scale and to get really big.
Great. So, what are some new sectors and applications that you think are good opportunities for investors to pursue? What's heating up out there today?
So, in terms of what I look for, I think obviously I mentioned diversity, but then just kind of the different sectors. One that is really heating up and is going to be huge is, of course, the cannabis industry, with the way the laws are changing and just the different uses people are finding for cannabis, such as CBD, that really have no THC or kind of druggy effect, just more medicinal use and other uses. I think that's really going to explode. And there are a lot of funds who won't invest in that because they see it as, oh, it's a drug, we're not really interested in that. Or a lot of different funds who I've met with, they agree it's a great industry and it's growing, but their LPs have certain restrictions on them where they can't. So I think this is a great area to invest in right now, because there are a ton of people who do want to invest and they just can't because of different rules or laws. But I think those who do get into it and who do invest in it are going to see massive returns.
Very good. Well, in the last few minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
Sure. I just want to be clear that when I say investing in diversity, I don't see this as a charity move or a woe is me, please invest in minorities because life is tough. I see it as diversity is extremely important and has been proven that companies that are diverse lead to better returns. And I'm not saying when I say diversity, it's not to mean don't invest in straight white males. I'm just saying that a startup who has 3 founders and they're all straight white males, how can you really trust that when they grow their workforce that they're going to be able to diversify and lead a company of diverse thought and really connect with the customers? So when I look for companies and if the founder is a white male and a white female, that's great. It's like you're proving diversity. Like, this is great. We're not anti-white male. We're not, none of that. We want to invest in all types of people, just making sure that the core team is diverse and that you're committed to growing a company that will be diverse in nature. And we genuinely believe that the most fiscally sound approach to investing is to invest in diverse founders, and that this has been a slice of the pie that has been missed for years, and that those who continue to ignore it are really only hurting themselves. They're just investing in the same type of people who fit their mold or look like them. It's really business 101 that you're not supposed to be invested in one thing and you're supposed to diversify your investments. And so we're saying now it's really time to diversify your investments by diversifying your founders.
Well, that's great. That's the best investment advice we can have, is to diversify across all angles. So appreciate your sharing that with us today. How best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
Yeah, so feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Gil X Hernandez. Same thing on Instagram, Twitter, Gil X Hernandez. And then there's also GXH Capital. We have an Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's all one word, GXH Capital. Feel free to also, you can email me at gil@gxhcapital.com. I welcome all cold emails and love connecting with different people, founders, anyone.
Great. We'll put those in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.